So today we're talking about a shift many security teams are already feeling, moving from legacy awareness to real cyber readiness. This session is built to be practical. We will look at what changed, what no longer works, what readiness looks like in real data, and what security leaders should expect now. Before we go into the first discussion, let me quickly walk you through the agenda so we all know where are we going. We're going to first, of course, get introduced with our guest today, with our speakers. Then we're going to have four discussions, different chapters. The old awareness model is becoming less relevant. What modern readiness needs to do today, from theory to proof, and what leaders should stop accepting from old programs. Last but not least, we're going to open the session for Q&A, so you guys can share your inquiries and questions with our valuable guest. So first of all, I would like to introduce you to Daniel. Hi, Daniel. Good afternoon. How are you today?
Thank you very much. I'm fine. Good afternoon for everyone. My name is Daniel Cep. I'm working for SKODA AUTO for more than 30 years. I'm responsible for security in the role LISO. It's local information security officer. I am taking care about most ISMS, so information security management system, and also about identity access management, awareness, and different stuff.
Thank you very much, Daniel. We really appreciate your time and availability joining us today. And next, I would like to introduce you to Noam Brosh. Hi, Noam. Good afternoon.
Hi, Steph. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here and thank you for inviting me. I'm Noam Brosh. I'm the CISO of UVeye. My job is to actually make sure that our organization stays secure. But more important, I would say, is to ensure that our people have the tools and instincts that they need to protect themselves as well as our data. I spent about 25 years in various industries, from telecommunications, the travel industry, stock market, and recently cyber. I'm relatively new to UVeye. My background is highly technical, mostly network engineering, systems administration, traditional IT development. And because of my roots as a technical person, I know firsthand how lean teams don't have the time, or sometimes not even the expertise to build manual training programs, if you would say, That's why I'm excited to talk about, next gen awareness programs and automation, which includes CyberReady. Yeah.
So thanks a lot for both of you. We are really excited. For the audience, as you can see, we have two different perspectives. We have the enterprise SKODA Auto with approximately 30K users, and we have kind of a medium size, 300 up to 500 users. So it's going to be very interesting and different perspective. So now that we got introduced with our valuable guest, let us talk about why this topic matters. Over the last few years, security teams have added more security tools. At the same time, threats become faster, more personalized, and more deceptive. Employees become a large and more dynamic part of the attack surface. So the real question is no longer, did people complete the training? The real question is, are they better prepared when a real attack happens? With that in mind, let us start with what changed in the real world. Why the old model started to feel less relevant. So the next question will be for you, Daniel. When we look at a large organization, even small training gaps can become very visible. If we go back a few years, many awareness programs looked acceptable on paper. So what broke? What changed in the real world that made the old training model feel less relevant?
We try to educate our users for years. We started with some presentations, then we switched to e-learning, but still a lot of pages, a lot of information, text, maybe with some simple tests to improve the attention, but it was quite boring and it needed a long time. The employees do not read, they just skip it over. They think they know it already. It's nothing new for them. So it's very, very difficult. theoretically they should memorize it, learn it, and they don't want to do it. On the other hand, in current environment, there are many disruptions. They do multitasking, they have other stuff, other calls, other points. So to keep their attention, it's very difficult. And what's the most touching the users? It's real experience. If the people get real phishing, and especially if they click on such an email, they can never tell us, I would never click on that. It's a real experience, and this is the way how they really learn and remember what it means.
That's a strong point from the enterprise side, right? So in large enterprise, long or boring training is not just user experience issue. It becomes an operational and risk issue. Now, Noam, let's look at the same gap from your side. You have seen different environments over the years. When did the gap between training delivered and readiness achieved become impossible to ignore? I would love you to focus on the difference between knowledge, instinct, and real behavior change.
Certainly. So if you look back about 10 years ago, the landscape was completely different. The business environment moved in a very slow pace, slower than today, definitely, and work was mostly done on a corporate desktop. Phishing attacks were pretty generic. Back in the day, an annual compliance video was good enough because the threats were not changing by the hour. But as the speed of the business accelerated, with everyone jumping into cloud apps, Slack, and constant context switching, the old model completely shattered. And at the same time, attackers stopped sending generic spam. They started running highly sophisticated targeted plays, weaponizing whatever real-world news or local events were happening that exact same day. So you quickly realize you can't really protect a fast-moving modern workforce using training model built for a world that no longer exists. If your awareness program doesn't match the actual speed of your business and the real-time tactics of modern attackers, you're just checking the box. You're not really reducing any type of risk.
Yeah, got it. So if the old model started to fall behind, the next question is, what should replace it? Saying what no longer works is one thing. Defining what modern readiness looks like is where it gets interesting. Noam, let's stay with this for a moment. Why does training delivered no longer mean readiness achieved? And if we're talking in practice, what should security leaders understand about completion rates, fast-moving employees, and attackers using real-time events?
So that's the million-dollar question right there. Just like I just stated, if you look back 5 or 10 years ago, the bar for a security awareness program was incredibly low. Success meant that you assigned a 60-minute annual video. You chased employees down until 100% of them or less, if we're being honest, completed it. And you check the box for your auditors. That's it. But today, the threat landscape has completely, outpaced, I would say, that model. Attackers are faster, smarter, and highly targeted. So when security leaders look at a program today, they need to expect a lot more. For example, we need to talk about the shift from building knowledge to building instincts. Having knowledge doesn't stop someone from clicking a malicious link. And a modern program needs to create an actual behavioral change. We need to care about reducing the actual risk profile and building company muscle memory. Second part would be, the program must match reality. Again, 10 years ago, phishing was obvious. It had terrible grammar, weird logos, prints from abroad stories. And today, attackers are constantly looking for opportunities. They weaponize, like I mentioned, real-world events happening all around us. It could be global news, tax deadlines, major sporting events coming up. And therefore, if your platform is serving up real generic outdated templates from 2018, 2019, you're literally training your team for yesterday's battle. The simulation needs to look exactly like the real threats hitting your inbox this morning or this evening, wherever you are. And a modern program cannot create more administrative burden. It has to reduce it. In the past, if you wanted a continuous training program, An internal security analyst had to actually spend hours on creating content. They had to be the data scientist. They had to be the psychological expert. They needed to figure out who needs what training and when. And lean teams, especially in startups and fast-pacing moving companies, simply don't have that time. Fast-pacing, fast-moving organizations need automation. The program should run on an engine that automatically recognizes who is struggling and instantly delivers microlearning experience directly to them. It needs to work for the IT or the InfoSec teams and not give them just not dashboard to babysit. And I would summarize it and say that if a platform doesn't change behavior autonomously in an organization, and if it requires a ton of manual heavy lifting from your staff, creating content, for example, it's considered a legacy tool. Nowadays, with everything going on, we need continuous adaptive resilience that takes minutes to manage, not hours.
Yeah, I tend to agree. That indicates the main reason why the model broke. And by the way, as we can see tomorrow morning, like in 2 weeks' time, there's going to be the World Cup, right? And in our security network, in our community, now there's a great interest and kind of internal bets if still this giant event, huge event, gonna create a lot of attack attempts, like malicious phishing attempts, or maybe this year it's going to be a little bit different. Because history shows that in the past, great events, mega events, global events, such as the World Cup, actually is a trigger. So days will tell. Days will tell. We're gonna wait a little bit and see if this, if we are winning or losing this bet. So now let us translate that into the practical side. What a modern program must include when implementing it inside the real organization. Daniel, when you take this idea of modern readiness into a large enterprise environment, what becomes non-negotiable? How does the program need to work in real life, not just in theory?
If we think about such a program, such an activity, we are looking at as a service. The service must provide definitely continuity. It's very important that it runs every day, every time, and it trains our users. To be attractive, it must deliver fresh content, up-to-date content, as you described just the current World Championship Cup. It's really important because then it's attractive for the users. It may use also local activities, local for the company. It's also important, which is not so commonly common, and then it's more dangerous because it touches a specific point of the people. It's also important to pay attention to onboarding of new employees because they are commonly not so known to the standards at the company. They come from different sources, and some of them are totally not familiar with the phishing activities, and it's a really high risk. What's very, very important is simplicity, operational simplicity, because we never have enough resources and we have to provide as possible good awareness for our employees. So we have a limited time, but we want to provide a service. We don't want to look how to write every text of a phishing message, how to define the users, recipients, and all these things. So if it is running as simple as possible by the service provider, it's a good opportunity. On the other hand, we cannot expect that the click rate goes to zero because it's really something which improves, but there are always in such a big company some users who click on email, and it might happen to everyone. But what's important is really to increase the resilience. And also what's important is that it's not only about emails, pure emails, but other activities, other channels like voice smishing, also some activities via Teams or WhatsApp, and other technologies where the attackers are trying to come to our users. And the training, the program has to use also these channels.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much, Daniel. This is really great. But once we define what readiness should look like, the audience naturally wants proof, not just ideas. So let's move from theory to practice. Daniel, when a program is working, how does employee progress look over time? And what should people pay attention to in data while training tens of thousands of employees, such as, Skoda Auto?
As you said, we have more than 30,000 users, and they are very different. Some of them are working in office, some on work in workshop, in shifts. Some of them are reading emails on computer in the proper time, some of them on mobile. Some managers are working 24 hours a day. So it's really very, very different, and we have to find a way how to touch all of them. What's more important that they are not perfect at the beginning, but they are improving. They are increasing resilience. They are learning, and they are learning very often by mistakes. If they identify it properly, they don't get so much as if they really click on the email and get the learning and see what might happen if they do it in the night on mobile phone, and they can increase the risk. It's also important that the users are regularly trained. We are running the campaign for more than 6 years, and some people were very good at the beginning and failed now recently, or in other way. So it changes, and the users cannot fall asleep because the world around is changing, and they have to react. They have to learn for all the time, forever.
Yeah, makes sense.
The people also use different devices, and it's another risk that not only themselves are using, for example, email, but they have also some assistant, some secretary. They are accessing their emails. It's also a risk for their mailboxes, and they have to work with this risk. And the big issue for such a service and such things is also other security tools which are around us. We have a lot of them, and they can block on one way the bad emails, on the other hand also the training emails, and they also block these actions. If you click on the email, you should get somewhere in the internet, and it can be blocked. So as all these intelligence are trying to be more and more intelligent using artificial intelligence, it's really difficult to keep track with them and block the bad things and allow these training things. So that life is very dynamic, and we have to react to it.
Great. Thank you very much, Daniel. Very, very valuable insights. And back to you, Noam. When you look at the similar data as a security leader, what indicates that the program changed behavior and not just generates nice reports?
So for me, that gap became an issue when I started actually noticing, right after talking to a lot of other CISOs, that organizations were boasting about 100% training completion rates on paper. But when you look at the actual security incidents, which is mostly from phishing, as we all know, this all went up. And, they and us, we were delivering training, but weren't really achieving actual readiness. I think, that's about it, in a nutshell. Yeah.
Got it. So the point here is very clear. Whether you protect 300 people or 30K, the goal is not activity. The goal is behavior change. We are talking with endless CISOs every day, and now we want to discuss the key pointers InfoSec leaders should demand from their current solution. Noam, the next one is for you again, and that's probably a huge interest from our viewers. If someone in the audience is running, buying, or rethinking an awareness program, what should they stop settling for? And what should they start demanding if they want real readiness instead of checking the box exercise?
So if you're sitting in the audience today and you're rethinking a program, my biggest advice to you is that you look at two things, your calendar and your security team's inbox. Those will tell you everything you need to know about whether your current platform is stuck in the past. To make it simpler, let's look at a warning sign you should stop settling for and the signals you should start demanding. High administrative burden, I've mentioned it before. If your security team need to spend hours every single month acting as content creators, configuring schedules, manually choosing the phishing templates, and what departments do they go, you're settling for a legacy tool. Nowadays, you shouldn't be working for a platform. The platform should be working for you. In addition, you need to stop settling for once a year compliance training. If your program relies on forcing employees into a long, boring annual training blocks, those 60-minute sessions that I've mentioned before, where they just mute the video and click next to get a certificate, or they're doing something else, you're not really building readiness. You're just checking the box. The reality is, an employee's ability to spot phishing attempts drop significantly just weeks after a long training session. You need to have automation that feels autonomous. A modern program shouldn't need a babysitter. It should automatically adapt to employee behavior on the fly. If Bob in accounting clicks on a simulated phishing, the platform should instantly drop a 60-second learning byte in front of him right then and there without anyone from InfoSec or IT teams having to trigger it manually. And finally, you need to look, we already discussed this, but again, you need to look at your behavioral metrics, not completion metrics. Stop looking at the data that says that 100% of employees watch the video. It's the resilience that you're looking for. When a sophisticated attack hits the organization, how many of your people actually pause, recognize, and report it? If a program can't run autonomously, if it disrupts your employees' workdays, and if it doesn't give you real data on behavioral change, it's time to stop settling for the legacy tools. We have the technology today to make sure that security awareness are frictionless, continuous, and effective.
Yeah, definitely great stuff. That's an important challenge, especially for leaders who are reevaluating what good enough means. Daniel, from the enterprise side, what do mature teams need to demand if they're interested in a program that can scale and keep improving over time? You are on mute, Daniel, or
Sorry.
lost?
For such case, it's very important to have continuous support. Without this, we cannot work, we cannot use the platform. Also, automation and operational simplicity. As Noam described, it's really critical that the automation is there. It doesn't require more manual effort than absolutely necessary. It must deliver fresh content, up-to-date events. It must react also with the methods, forms, details to actual situation as attackers do. It must also support the onboarding and training for new employees. So identify the most critical users in the enterprise and increase the effort against them and not bother the others who are perfect. The program has to evolve automatically, improve with the service. We don't have so much time to be perfect in this area, and we don't want to pay attention to all details how phishing campaigns develop, and we rely on such a service, and we want to use it. And also realistic expectations. We don't expect click rate going to zero. We understand there are some clicks from users, but they are getting better. And we are getting rid of someone who clicks on every email he gets. And another part is reporting. It's very important to have overview about the whole program, how it is running, how it is developing, what are the weak and strong points in the organizational structure, in the devices, in the time, and how we should help the people to concentrate on the topic and be better in future.
Yeah, great. I think this actually connects all the dots here. The size of the organization changes the scale of the challenge, but not its nature. Now, let us open the session for a Q&A with the audience. Now I really want to hear what our viewers have to say. We invite you all to use your chat or the Q&A button in the Zoom system, so you can share your questions with both Daniel and Noam, and even share your main challenges that each and every one of you are facing today. So don't be shy, and let's have this open conversation with the ones which are willing to share. Let me open the chat box and the Q&A. So for those of you who didn't hear the notification at the beginning, there's a Q&A or the chat, so you can share your feedback over there, your questions. Don't be shy. Okay. We got one. Oops, sorry about that. We have one for Noam, just came in, the Q&A. And Noam, how do you keep employee training effective without slowing people down or making them feel like security? Oh, too many screens. Sorry about that. Let me read it from the beginning. How do you keep employee training effective without slowing people down or making them feel like security is interrupting their work?
So if we want employees to actually care about security, we need to stop interrupting their workday. Forcing a fast-moving team to sit through a 60-minute legacy training video is losing, I would say, strategy. People just mute it, they click next. They're going for the certificate, the completion zone. It creates a lot of frustration. People are bored, and it doesn't really contribute to any type of safety. I think the fix is shifting entirely to micro-learning, security bites. We nowadays can build training directly into the flow of work with zero friction. There's no need to go back to legacy tools.
Okay, thanks a lot. We have another one coming for Daniel. Here it is. When you train a very large employee population, how do you keep the program consistent and measurable without turning it into a full-time job for the security team?
As I said, it's really important to have a right service partner, service provider, which supports this automation reporting. In our case, we are paying just few hours a month with one person to keep the program running. We can then use just the reports. Sometimes when we have more time, we can analyze the reports. Sometimes not. We can concentrate on other incidents, but we are sure that the program is running and it improves the resilience of the company.
Okay, great. Thanks a lot, Daniel.